The heart is having to work too hard. The contraction to support that push the blood is way too much, which means as you directly come off of the aorta and you have branching into the head, which is going to the brain, what does that mean about the blood flow to the brain? It's too much. And a stroke is where the vessels burst.
Like when I'm going to the doctor before, just smoke a cigarette problem, that elevates the blood pressure.
Mm-hmm. But was it enough for them to put you on medication?
No.
Okay. So they probably knew that it was situational and that after your body finished with the chemicals, they were going to regulate back down for the blood pressure. Under normal conditions, the body accommodates a lot of fluctuations in blood pressure. When they become a chronic issue is when we're going to have problems. For example, people under chronic high blood pressure, one of the things that gets really affected is their kidneys, which you're going to learn why when we get to that chapter. It's cool, but it's not good. Yeah, y'all know what I mean. Now, in this case right here, with the blood pressure dropping to low, what could be a major concern with low blood pressure?
Not enough blood getting to the brain?
Don't just associate it with the brain. We're not getting enough blood to every cell of the body. Note what I just said. Blood pressure is too low. You are not getting the blood flow to every cell of the body, not just a tissue.
The heart, it's harder to pump the blood when it's too high. Wouldn't it pump more blood when it's too low?
Actually, no. If something has happened for blood pressure to drop significantly, there's not enough fluid moving through the heart for it to contract and push correctly. So the load on the heart has changed. Now, if you do not get proper blood flow to the cells, I'm trying to stress that very heavily, okay? When you're not getting proper blood flow to the cells of the body, number one, cells are not getting nutrients and materials they need to function. And second, any waste that they have produced in their chemical reactions is not getting picked up. And because there's not enough blood flow, this means cells can die. If the cells die, what is going to happen to the tissue? It's going to die. And things can begin to go bad. What could be a situation where something like that could happen?
Were you really cold?
Hmm?
Were you really cold?
Like somebody coding for like a heart attack or something like that?
Not like when you're really cold and your body.
Mm-mm. When that happens, it's just basically shunting the blood flow. It'll shunt it to the inner parts of the body. But what could cause a rapid drop in blood pressure that would mean the body needs to begin to compensate. Brian? Did you say?
Oh, I was thinking dehydration.
How about trauma?
Oh, that, yeah, of course.
All right. How about somebody getting cut, shot, car wreck, whatever the case might be, and you begin to have a loss of blood, okay? And the body can't meet the demands. Other situations can create that, okay? But we're looking at situations where we're most likely going to have a huge drop because, do you guys remember baroreceptors? Baroreceptors, however you want to pronounce them, okay? Located in those arteries, as soon as they branch off of the aorta, okay, and they are able to pick up the information because that's immediate, okay? That branching that occurs off of the aorta, that's immediate information about the heart beat, okay? So they immediately detect a fall in the blood pressure. Well, that activates my sympathetic system. Because if that's the case, do I not want to speed it up? And isn't that what sympathetic is going to do? It's going to speed something up. Here's the fun part. This is my hormone that comes with this for the endocrine system. Angiotensin 2 is produced. That stimulates the cortex to secrete the aldosterone because the aldosterone can act on my kidneys to retain, hold in, return to the body my sodium. And by doing that, because you're going to find out in the chapter with the kidneys, water and sodium follow each other. So if I return my sodium, that means I return water to my body. That means if I'm returning the water to my body, I'm helping the blood load, okay, the amount that's moving through my heart, and it should help bring back my blood pressure. Now, if that's working correctly, and if the problem that caused it to begin with is fixed, hopefully the body returns to normal. However, for this process to take place, it is much more difficult than just what I've given you right here. Because for this process to work, I'm going to need my lungs because they have the ability to convert the angiotensin 2. It is going to be termed my renin angiotensin aldosterone system, RA. And if you think you're not going to hear this again, you're sadly mistaken. This is coming back to you. And I don't mean in my class. I mean when you're out in the field, when you start your clinicals, when you get ready to take your test. This is definitely a part of what you're going to need to know. So I'll explain it further. But anytime there's a drop in blood pressure, Do you happen to know at what point? Because y'all know like 120/80, right? Okay? Because, or 110/8, whatever the case might be, because now blood pressure numbers are based on your age and your health, and the lower the numbers, supposedly, the better, I guess, your heart's working. At what point does that bottom number have to get to for life to be threatened? The bottom number, 50. When that number gets to 50, life is in danger for that organism, for that person, because that is not enough pressure to maintain life in that organism. All right? So, I can't stress how important it's going to be to start understanding that system, because when you get ready to like go take your test for your program that you go into, this, from what I understand, the endocrine system is a major part of the test questions. So this is pretty important. Now from the middle layer, cortisol. Gotta love cortisol. What we also know as hydrocortisone, it is the most potent glucocorticoid, meaning glucose and alternative fuels. The weaker one is the corticosteroid, I say corticosteroid, but that's because I think about the shots. Corticosterone. This one gets secreted in response to the ACTH. Where am I headed back to? Where does that come from? What is it? Adrenocorticotropic hormone. What area of this system is that coming from? Where's the ACTH coming from? You guys remember the hypothalamus? Pituitary? Remember the corticotropin releasing hormone, which was in the hypothalamus, which goes to the pituitary to get the ACTH, which goes to my adrenal gland. All right? Now, stimulates fat and protein catabolism, building up, breaking down. What is catabolism? Yes. The breaking down. So I get the breakdown of fats, and I get the breakdown of proteins, because this could help with gluconeogenesis. What does that tell me? It's creating a glucose. This is when the body can make a glucose molecule, because what is the area of the body